Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone that's tuning in with us tonight. From my right, I'd like to welcome Brother John Mahoney, who's the Head of Communications at the Lebanese Muslim Association. Assalamu alaikum, John.
Alaikum salam, Khaled. How's Jamil?
Lovely to have you here, John. You know, inshallah, people will get to know you a lot more, after tonight's episode. John's the man that's behind the scenes for almost everything that you see in terms of, releases by the LMA. And, no need to introduce Haj Jamal Al Khair, the Secretary of the LMA. Assalamu alaikum, Haj.
I'd like to also welcome Jihad John. He's my right-hand man, and literally my right-hand man. Yeah, he guides me along media-wise. So wonderful to have you as well. Thanks, Haj Khalid.
Alhamdulillah. Haj Jamal, before we get into, the topics that we wanted to discuss, there was a press release released not long ago by the LMA stating that we've gone national. What can you tell us?
This has been a sort of a pipe dream for a while now. And it sort of stems from what's conspired in Gaza has shown how weak and divided that our community sadly is. And I hate to say it, but to take the playbook of the Jewish Board of Deputies or the Jewish community was a perfect example of how a unified national body can get its message across to government, media, semi-government, semi-autonomous authorities, all these sort of these organizations. And the idea came that you turn the brand into a national brand. And it's not about the LMA, and that's what I wanted to stress. It's about reaching out to the community that crosses across different states and tying us in together. So alhamdulillah, we've just recently signed contracts on purchasing a ex-church in Victoria, Melbourne, in the suburb of Strathmore. It's an amazingly beautiful site. It's 2,200 square meters, a old church with a childcare center ready to go. And even more surprising was we also purchased at the same time, and it wasn't planned, wallahi, it was subhanAllah, it was just God inspired. We also exchanged contracts at the same time with the same settlement date for also an ex-church that was being used as a dance studio in the city of Adelaide. And this will be the first full-blown masjid in the CBD. It's actually in the physical CBD of Adelaide. So much so that we actually had Australians coming up and congratulating us, and they were so proud that the fact that Adelaide would be the first capital city with a mosque in the city, in the CBD. So alhamdulillah, that's it's such an honor to be part of this expansion program and to be able to announce it. And inshallah, all the brothers and sisters can get behind it, because the idea is to unify our voice collectively as one voice. And this is the beginning of a much bigger process, inshallah. So there'll be more to come. Is that Allah right?
Inshallah, that's great news. Alhamdulillah. This goes on the back of all the different affiliations that we've been making with mosques across Australia, and alhamdulillah now across New Zealand too.
Yeah, so this sort of goes hand in hand with the Australian Mosques Alliance. The idea is to unify the mosques, and it's not to compete with any other organisation, but there's been a vacuum within the Muslim community for mosques. So no one actually represents the mosques themselves. And the idea of the alliance was, it wasn't focused around individuals or imams, with all due respect to both. It was more focused around the actual mosques and the congregation that go to the mosques. That's growing. We're up to about 19. We've now crossed over to all the eastern states, along with New Zealand. Our first mosque in New Zealand, alhamdulillah. We've now gone into Hobart, Tasmania. And if anyone's listening, there is a mosque that's being purchased in Hobart at the moment. If we can help them, that would be fantastic, because they really do need our help. We're now crossing into Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, and inshallah with Perth and Northern Territory the next.
Inshallah soon. Brother John, let's move on a little bit. How you doing? How's all the press releases going? How are things going for you at the LMA?
Yeah, so for Khaled and also Haj Jamel. So it's great to be back at the LMA. Hopefully, a few of my friends are watching tonight, so they'd be aware that I was here for 2 years and then I spent 12 months away. And I just found that I lost the connection with this most beautiful Lakemba Mosque. And when the opportunity arose, thanks to the board to come back here, I grasped it with open arms. But it's my intention to do a lot more than what I did before. Basically, I was, doing the social media writing, Amos newspaper articles, but there's 3 or 4 other projects that the board have put, and specifically Haj Jamel have put before me, and we're sort of ticking them off. One is a newspaper, an online newspaper, which is going to involve a lot of work. But there's also 3 other projects I'd like to talk and tell the viewers about tonight.
Yeah, inshallah. But you mentioned online newspaper. It's not a simple project. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? You just dropped it, out of nowhere, and it's mashallah, online newspaper.
Yeah. So look, I'll start. Then John can expand on it. The idea came about again. We're looking at how do we best express not only to the Muslim community, but the thoughts of the Muslim community to the outside world. Now, social media has its limitations because the way they do their algorithms, we end up being, just ignored, and it's sort of shoved around, out of sight. So there had to be a way that we can, one, talk to not only our constituents and our community, but also to the wider audience. And the idea was an electronic newspaper. So similar to the way, God forbid, the Daily Telegraph goes online, or Sydney Morning Herald is online, the same concept. This will be a newspaper covering all to do with Muslim affairs, and it will be international, national, not just centered around the LMA or Lakemba. It's actually about the Australian Muslim community's daily life and what affects us and what's relevant to us. So that's where the idea came from. And John can take it on. He's got a background in media and newspapers, so it's up his field. And that was the beauty of having met John previously and trying to encourage him to come back, because there is a vacuum within the media landscape for the Muslim community to express itself, and it needs to, because if it's going to get its voices heard, most importantly with government, it's not going to happen via the traditional media. I mean, I don't think Murdoch with his wonderful crew are going to come running to say, hey, how can we best explain what's happening to your community? At best, they loved denigrating our community. So we needed a platform, and that's where John comes in.
Yeah, so Haj Jamel, you mentioned before about the algorithm. We don't want to bore the viewers, our beautiful community, with that too much, but it's plain as the nose on your face. We have with us here tonight our producer-director, Bilal Abdul Wahed. He's just put up this magnificent, and he's burnt the midnight oil to sort of get this beautiful video about Gaza. Now, I know that the video has received, thousands of hits on other forms of social media, but on Facebook, I haven't checked lately, but at one stage there was probably about 50 likes. Now, with respect, if we do a Facebook post about our mums and bubs, it gets 50 likes. So it just goes to show, the owners of Facebook and the Zionist influence and the influence
there's an agenda.
It's an agenda. So by having our own newspaper, which we'll produce in-house, and we've been talking about it off early tonight, videos as well as the written word. But the written word is so important, and it's so devalued. It, honestly, as a career journalist, my father was a journalist. It really upsets me that I see all the different. Even the different organisations and the charities and everything, they're written. They just
away from writing.
Yeah. And what writing they do, they use ChatGPT. They may as well just be one website. Well, the LMA is not going to be like that. We're going to have this newspaper. We're going to be able to distribute it via email as a file. So anybody who's not on our mailing list, once we get started, they can give us their details. And so, inshallah, instead of if Bilal produces a video or you do a great media release which deserves thousands of people seeing it, they'll actually see it instead of it being blocked by Facebook.
100%. Off topic, honestly, do yourself a favour. If you just go to the Lebanese Muslim Association Facebook page, let's give an up yours to Facebook. Everyone go to Bilal's video. It's on the Lebanese Muslim Association website. It is a Facebook page. It is honestly, it's a tearjerker. It makes you cry, but it really puts into emphasis the such a blatant comparison to the Holocaust and what's happening in Gaza, a genocide. Call them what you will, names are really words and there's no effect to those words. But when you see visually what's happening in Gaza, and he does a brilliant job I think it's about a 4-minute video, absolutely amazing video. And it's sad, John. It's sad that he didn't get the recognition it deserves, because I mean, I know for a fact Bilal was being pushed by me a lot of times, but he spent many endless nights doing it, and it deserved much bigger audience.
It's as good quality as we see on the commercial.
100%, and I think better, because it was raw and it wasn't tainted in any way. But that's the point behind the newspaper, because then we're not at the mercy of social media outlets. We can do it via websites, we can do it by emails, we can do it by direct messaging. And I think it's time that the LMA and other organisations sort of move towards this new media landscape, and away from traditional just sending out physical letters. They don't work anymore. We still send our invites out by letter. And, this is the sort of draconian days of the LMA have to move, and we need to sort of be in that social media landscape with our own publication, inshallah.
When an organisation's been around for 63 years, it deserves to be heard, and you shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to be worried about having to dodge. Like it's not a rugby league game where you've got to try and get around the defence. You should be able to write what you really think, and hope that your whole community sees it, not just a small percentage.
I mean, if we give you an example, just give you a simple example. If you talk about just Gaza. I mean, if you, and that's the most important thing that's happening at the moment, and I'm definitely not trying to belittle it. I'm actually trying to show the relevance of it. If you were to go to the Murdoch Press, or even Sydney Morning Herald, or even the ABC, who I would hold to a higher esteem than the rest of them, you're lucky if you might get one headline grab, or maybe a 30-second video, but the whole true story of the real utter desperation of a whole population, no one's talking about that. The only one that I can really give any credence to is Al Jazeera, but not many people have access to Al Jazeera. No. This is the idea of the paper. The idea of the paper is it's unabashedly from a Muslim point of view, and it's making only relevant what we believe is relevant to our community. So we're not interested in good luck stories about other communities, because it doesn't have relevance to us. It's a paper designed to be more relevant and give the news unfiltered. And as John said, we won't shy away from being unfiltered. If any country, including Australia, deserves a bashing, well, then that paper has a duty to bash with respect. And that's the idea of the paper, is to express the feelings of the Muslim community.
Inshallah. And that's going to be very important. I think we need a lot of different media platforms in our Muslim community. We can't rely on, one or two. And, mashallah, they've been pushing above their weight in our community, but I think we need a lot more moving forward. John, we're going to move on a little bit.
Sure.
Let's move into your new program, inshallah, that's coming up. So very interesting name, Brothers Circle. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about it, inshallah, starting in October?
Sure. So this is another initiative that the board were keen to have me involved in, coming back to the LMA, given that I'm a new Muslim myself for some 6 years. And so the program is going to be different. There's some terrific programs out there run by the likes of Anmar and Brother Ahmed Bassel and people like that, Intro to Islam. But this is going to be different, because it's actually going to be driven from not so much me personally as a revert, but just basically it's going to be more like a drop-in centre where new Muslims can come in. Doesn't matter if they've been a Muslim for a month or 20 years, they're welcome to come along. We'll be welcoming non-Muslims who are interested in Islam. And even if there's brothers out there who feel they might have lost their way a little bit, they can come along as well. But it's going to start on 2 weeks from yesterday, Wednesday, the 8th of October. It'll be in the LMA hall upstairs. And happy to announce that the first Imam who'll be with us will be the esteemed Imam of Al-Kema Mosque, Sheikh Yahya Safi. And there'll also be the brothers who come along, the new Muslims, will be invited to tell their story, probably one a week, because we think some of these stories are going to be quite lengthy. But Brother Sebastian Guzman will be the first guest. And those of you who've watched Project Quran, the videos on there, Sebastian's story is terrific. He actually accepted Islam in a jail cell. So,
SubhanAllah.
yeah.
SubhanAllah.
And we're also hopeful of not every week, but also getting special guests, Muslim sportsmen and other well-known community members. And the response has been really good that I've received from not so much from the reverts yet, or the new Muslims, but basically people in the community who've seen the flyer. And so anybody who's watching, if they've got a friend who's a new Muslim or some person, young brother who's interested in Islam, or an old brother or an old person who's interested in Islam, just let them know, and there'll be more details on our page, on our Facebook page.
You know, it's sad in a way because I think Lakemba Mosque would, if you counted the numbers, would probably have the greatest number of reverts actually did their shahadi at the Lakemba Mosque. But it's sadly, and I say this with sadness, the LMA has never been known to actually cater for reverts. It's sort of little silo within just the Lebanese community and much later now Southeast Asian community, but it hasn't addressed the need for reverts. And there's a lot of sad stories about reverts who have actually left the religion because they've isolated. There's no one looking after them. And so the idea, may God give you credit for it, John, is not just let's just meet once a week and just see how each other are going. It's a check-in. It's more of a check-in. How are you going? Are you struggling? Is there any way we can help you? So it's a combination of psychology, mental well-being, checking in on how are they struggling with the religion, and it's new to the LMA, and it's exciting. It's actually very exciting. And the beauty of having a revert as part of the staff has taught us that we do live in silos and we do live in a sheltered sort of environment, but there are people that do need a lot more help. And being the oldest organisation, well, the LMA has a responsibility to sort of expand its wings and sort of like a motherly love and hug these people, because they need help because they've lost all their family in most occasions, and our community sort of, sadly, just it doesn't sort of register on the importance of highly with them, and it does need to be. And this is the idea behind it, alhamdulillah. So is to sort of be a combination of support system and mental well-being. So alhamdulillah, it's long overdue.
Alhamdulillah. And just on the topic of new Muslims and people taking their shahada, I don't think we put proper stats or anything out there. Maybe we should. But just so the community knows, this is like almost a daily or weekly
100%.
occurrence at the LMA. Like, subhanAllah, a couple months ago, I was involved with more than one person taking their shahada within the day. Like, it was afternoon, late afternoon, and someone else calls. It's very frequent. Look, alhamdulillah, we've got our mashayikh and our English-speaking mashayikh that do follow up and try to provide that assistance. But definitely an initiative like the Brothers Circle, inshallah, afterwards for the sisters also.
Yep.
But an initiative like that is very, very
long
important.
Long overdue. The other thing is, Young's had over 17 reverts. Young Mosque, a little country town mosque, had reverts, and like a Brothers Circle is needed in Young. Yeah. This is an obligation on us. Yeah. We're in this country to do da'wah. That's the only reason that we're supposed to be here, is for da'wah. Look, that's important. What's equally important is the support network that we need to provide, and that's something incumbent on not just the LMA but every single Muslim, whether that be financial help, whether that be providing some sort of material assistance to these reverts. The other thing that I think is overdue, and we had a recent event, sadly, was a revert who died, and there was a confusion over whether he was Muslim or Christian for his burial. Again, this is a shameful thing upon all of us, because what sort of support network are we providing where we can't even validate? Thankfully, in this case, we did validate. So I know I haven't told you about this yet, but this is another brainstorming idea that we're thinking about, is to create it's like a birth and death register. We actually create a register of all the reverts, and it's like a will. So we create a system like a will where this person, we acknowledge he's reverted, and if it ever comes down to being able to prove it, then we have a form of like a will or a testimony that he or she has taken her shahada and they're practicing Muslims. That's long overdue and something that the community collectively, not just the LMA, needs to address.
Yeah. Jamal, look, unless you're a new Muslim, you're not going to be aware of some of the difficulties that some new Muslims face. Not everybody is like me, who's had help from the very first day. I didn't have the family problem because my parents had already passed away, although I'm sure if I told them I'd become Muslim, they would have been happy because they were always about my dad was a very, very forward-thinking journalist, as I might have mentioned before. My mum was the same, even though they were both religious, they were accepting. But some of the stories I hear about the lack of support, say, for example, I'm an older Aussie guy. I can walk down the street. No one's going to point at me or laugh because they don't know. I could be a Christian, I could be an agnostic, anything. But you hear stories of sisters, revert sisters. They actually have to hide their hijab in their house. Their brothers might slap them, or the mother might threaten to throw them out. Then they put the hijab on. They go to work. They're taunted on the train. They're taunted. The people at the water cooler at work talking about them behind their back.
And they don't have that social network that they can go home to. They don't have a mother and father and brothers and sisters they can sort of rely on and that sort of network. They're alone. They're totally alone.
I know of brothers who have been reverts. They've been Muslims for 10 years. They've never had Eid dinner with anybody.
Allahu Akbar. And see, this is, again, it's a blight on our community. So alhamdulillah, look, even ideas like, where we had the open iftar last year, that should be addressed more to reverts. In my honest opinion, I don't think most Lebanese communities would need to be fed, with all due respect, but the reverts would. So, but something like the Brothers Circle is an outlet where we can attach to these reverts and then invite them to events like this, so we keep connected with them. It's sad. It's sad when you hear stories of the fact that we're born into this faith and we take it for granted, but we do little to support those who are trying to find the truth. It's sad.
So the message is to anyone who's watching, if you know anybody who's a new Muslim or someone who's interested in Islam, or even if you want to come along one night yourself just to see what's going on, maybe you think you've lost your connection. Like I said before, the very first week, Sheikh Yahya Safi, what better person could you have to speak?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah. That's starting soon. All the details on our Facebook page. And Brother John is the main contact, inshallah, for the program. We'll move on. Another initiative. This one's dear to both our hearts. We've alternated over the last 4 or 5 years National Mosque Open Day. So inshallah, John's leading the initiative this year. So you want to give us a little bit. We've mentioned that on previous ones.
Sure.
But you want to give a bit of a spiel and what makes it so close to your heart.
Sure. So Khaled, your involvement in this over many years cannot be understated. And I think it's important that that people realise that this is actually the 12th National Mosque Open Day. It started in 2014 and it's been continuous every year. Even during COVID, it was done online. And it's just a beautiful event. Mosques all over Australia being involved, inviting their local communities, Muslim and non-Muslim, to come to the mosque. It's always on the last Saturday of October, this year being Saturday, October 25th. And it's just a great event, a beautiful event each and every year. And Haj Jamal speaking earlier about the purchase of these new mosques in other states, it just goes to show the reach that the LMA has. Like the LMA isn't sort of patting itself on the back over National Mosque Open Day, but we already have mosques in all states that are involved in this, and hopefully this year's going to be bigger and better than ever.
Inshallah. So it's 25th of October. Inshallah, and it's a good day to bring anyone that just to show them what a mosque looks like, some basic information. If a lot of people, you'd be surprised, a lot of people have never been inside a mosque. A lot of people have not been. You'd be surprised. But we had, several groups this week come for mosque tours. And I'd say only 10% of, these people that attended the mosque tours, and these are people that are willingly, actively looking for things like that, that had previously been in a mosque.
Yeah, well, I recently had a politician 2 weeks ago, in his 50s, same age as me actually, never seen a mosque. And he's a state politician, senator. So he reached out. He knew a lot about the religion, but never had seen a mosque. And when he walked in, he was absolutely gobsmacked because he expected to see church. Yeah, and then he looked and he said, "Well, where do people sit?" And I said, "We don't sit. We sit on the ground." How do you pray? And so, subhanAllah, when he came, it was the Asr time, just by sheer chance. So he watched the Asr prayer, and he was just absolutely in a different time zone. It was just like, wow, I didn't know this happened. So we're talking about politicians, not some person off the street who you wouldn't expect to ever ask about religion. So again, this is a blight on our community. Like, what sort of dawah have we been doing where a 55-year-old politician has never seen a mosque? And this is an obligation on us. Look, I encourage. This is not about the LMA. Wallah, it isn't. It's called National Mosque Open Day. It's not called the LMA Open Day or LMA Mosque Open Day. All mosques should be opening on this day to the public. And what better way to show unity than all of us doing it on the same day? It's not a competition. It's actually dawah. That's the whole point of the Mosque Open Day. So all mosques, I encourage, please, don't fall to this political game. Everyone should be doing it on the same day, so we send a clear message of unity to the wider community.
Inshallah. And we've got a lot of dawah resources that we've accumulated over the years. We also have a lot of brilliant partners that have a lot of dawah resources. So it's not just the LMA producing them, but there's so many different organizations. In particular the Embrace Packs. That mashallah we use and we give to all the people that take their shahada. Amazing packs.
Yeah, look, it's this year's, of course, last year's theme was against Islamophobia. This year it's open mosques, open hearts. So we're basically trying to say everybody is welcome. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If you don't have a faith, young, old, doesn't matter. Please come along.
Alhamdulillah. Next initiative also, John. John has a very busy last quarter of the year.
Now you know why we brought him back.
Very busy last quarter when you think about it. Last year, alhamdulillah, we had a very successful the first annual golf day for the Muslim community, and it's on again this year. And again, John's one of the main.
It was more than successful. It was
more than successful.
Amazing,
mashallah.
amazing.
So,
They're very excited to see it go ahead again this year. I think last year when I suggested it wasn't long before I took my 12-month sabbatical, and I think you all looked at me like I was crazy. And I said this will work. I sort of did 2 years of due diligence and didn't tell anybody. So I was confident that it would work, and it was very successful. But the beauty of it was to actually be there on the day, and you see one brother will say, "Muhammad, what are you doing here? I didn't know you played golf." So there's all these Muslims that are out there probably playing golf on their own or with their wife or with their Aussie mates and not telling their Muslim mates.
Yeah.
So last year we had 80 players. This year we're capping it at 120. We're very disappointed if we don't get that number because that's all everybody's been talking about.
The golf day, the thing, because I was there, alhamdulillah, and the thing that amazed me was two things. One, the LMA was turning new ground. Like, who would have thought, Lebanese playing golf? Even though, the LMA is way beyond Lebanese. This is another topic for another day. But just the fact that the Muslim group had to actually organise a golf day, and it took a revert to show us how to do it. Incredible. But the thing that amazed me the most, John, was there was 80 people there.
80 players.
And the dinner, there was about
200.
I would honestly say, hand on heart, I reckon about 80% weren't even LMA people. They were golf people.
Yep.
And this is how you do the Dawi process. This is how you show that the new LMA, this new logo that we'd love to have, the new LMA, is not about anything to do with your past. It's about trying to tap into the new community, to our younger community, to our Australian community. And that's what I loved about that night, because it was breaking traditional ground. It was moving away from what we did in the past and saying, well, we didn't do that well. We've lost a lot of the younger ones. And that's what the golf day represented to me. So kudos to you.
Yeah, we've actually, last year it was a minimum age for open to brothers 18 and over. We've actually dropped it down to 16 because we've heard on the grapevine there are a lot of schoolboy golfers who are quite good. So inshallah they can come along, or maybe come with their dads or their uncles or cousins. So it should be great.
It's a beautiful golf course too. It's an amazingly beautiful golf course.
Teams of 4, it's $440 for a team of 4, or $110 if you're an individual who's not a team. We can put you on a team. But this year, so for the 110, It's the use, obviously, green fees and the golf cart, but also we're streamlining the event. There's no gala dinner this year. It's just going to be a players-only event with the presentations and an auction and things like that actually on the side of the golf course at the end. But that's going to be like a free dinner for the players, so they're getting great value for the money.
Yeah. But again, it's important to that people understand this is not a for-profit event. This is for a not-for-profit Feed the World charity, and all the collection that is collected and donated will be given to Gaza. And that's crucial that people understand that. You know, even if you don't play golf, at the very least, come and walk through the golf course, because at least that fee will be, that some of that fee will be going to Gaza. So there's no profit for the LMA. This is a purely a not-for-profit initiative.
Yep. And just on the topic of, you know, the funds and that, you know, you can sponsor one of the holes for $2,000. And the people that do attend, the players, you know, this year, inshallah, 120 players, it's very worthwhile to sponsor in an event like this.
Of course.
So if anyone's interested, contact us. It's $2,000 a hole, I believe. And inshallah, you know, it's a very good, you know, opportunity, one for marketing, but, you know, also more importantly, you know, it's going to charity.
Yeah, definitely do our best to get our names out there. Haj Jamel's family has been very generous in the past, and last week I met your son-in-law for the first time, Haj Jamel, and
give him a plug.
That's Mohammed Khair from MK Allen Lawyers, specialising in personal injury, and after 10 minutes having a coffee with him, he's already put his hand up for a $2,000 sponsorship.
And this is it. This is the beauty of it. I mean, it breaks ground, and this is what the LMA, or let's call it the new LMA. I love that sort of tag.
Totally.
That new LMA is all about. It's nothing to do with the past. And I'm sick of hearing about people trying to hold me to account for something that's happened 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
The new LMA is all about reconnecting with its community. And the Golf Day goes a long way to prove or to substantiate that we are trying to reconnect. The idea of purchasing mosques as compared to building schools. I mean, the mosques aren't profit makers, but they're Dawi makers. And this is what the initiative is all about. This is what the new LMA is all about, is reconnecting with its community. And the community is no longer Lakemba. It's now Australia.
Sure.
Alhamdulillah. Another initiative, you know, connecting with the community is this Saturday. So the Australian Islamic Medical Association, inshallah, are going to be at Lakemba Mosque on Saturday between Dhuhr and Asr. Free CPR training. So you're not going to get your official certificates, but you're going to get the essential life skills. It's open to males, females, and, you know, parents and children. And it's all in the main mosque area.
Mashallah.
So inshallah, there's over 40 medical volunteers that are going to be here.
So
inshallah,
it's
it's at
actually
the
in the
mosque.
mosque.
In the mosque. There's over 20,
Allahu
you
Akbar.
know.
So when's this, Sunday?
This Saturday,
Saturday.
inshallah.
Saturday.
This Saturday,
Allahu
inshallah. So if you haven't registered, we've got, you know, registration links online. But please do attend. It's a free event. There'll be a sausage sizzle, inshallah, also, you know, afterwards. But it's essential life skills, like, you know, importance of saving someone's life, and to get all these medical professionals and, you know, specialists and stuff in at the same time. It's not easy. So again, thank you to the Australian Islamic Medical Association, and we look forward to seeing everyone, inshallah, here on Saturday.
Isn't it beautiful that the mosque is becoming the center again for everything? That was one of the main things that I wanted to do when I joined.
Yep.
The first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to stop doing events in halls. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, everything was in the mosque. His da'wah was in the mosque. When he met Christian people, he met them in the mosque. When there was deaths and marriages, they were in mosques. Everything was in a mosque. And alhamdulillah, it's so pleasing to see that the mosque has become the center of everything in our lives again. You know, the whole idea is we want the mosque to be used every single minute, not just for salah. You know, in between salah, we'll do kadbak tabs.
Yep.
You know, we'll do anything that needs to be done, because our life should be centered around the mosque. And when our hearts reconnect with the mosques, then the mosques will be full. And that's the ultimate aim for all of us, is to fill the mosques during prayer. But we can only do that if we reconnect to the mosque itself.
Yep.
So alhamdulillah, it's beautiful to hear that it's back in the mosque.
And we were asked, does it have to be in the mosque? And
We
we
want it
told
to
a
be.
lot of the people over here, you know, inshallah, we'll pray dhuhr. If there's janazah prayer, we'll accommodate to it.
Yeah.
We'll get the janazah prayers done, and then we'll continue on with this initiative.
100%. And that's how
Inshallah.
it should be.
I remember there was a big shift actually in about mid-2023, which is around the time when Brother Salim Alush came on board. And I heard because I was like privy to the WhatsApp group, and 2 or 3 board members like yourself and Raid Halabi and our President Hafez actually saying the words, back to the mosque, back to the mosque. And within 6 months, we had the brother from Pakistan, 10,000 people.
Naman Ali Khan.
Yeah. But then since then, we've had Sami Hamdi, we've had so many people. But it's not even those events. It's like when we did the political Q&A for Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, people were shocked that we were actually doing it in the mosque. And I said, well, but you've got a hall next door. And we said, but the hall is not the mosque.
Yeah.
You know, the mosque was used by the Prophet, Allahumma salli alayhi, for everything, for not just for religion. It was used for everything to do with the Muslim life. So, you know, the Q&As, I can't wait for the day when we have, Q&As on accounting and mathematics and, everything in the mosque, And that's the aim, is that we want to have events on a daily basis that has everything to do with the Muslim's life, not just the prayer.
Yeah, inshallah. And I mean, this podcast is live from Lakemba Mosque right now.
Yeah.
So it's actually in the mosque, alhamdulillah. John, are we missing any events, any updates, anything else you wanted to add, inshallah?
The only other one I just wanted to say quickly was shout out to the LMA team, Sister Yasmin and Sister Baria, and the team that are organising the expo tomorrow for the refugees.
Yep.
It's at the Youth and Community Centre at Fairfield, and they've got over 60 stalls. So they have been working super hard, and it should be a great day.
Alhamdulillah. So yeah, tomorrow, inshallah, Refugee Youth Expo with over 60 stores in the Fairfield area. And it was only 1 or 2 months ago where we had another career expo with, over 500-600 students attending, alhamdulillah. So a lot of work being done in those different spaces.
And we're breaking away from Lakemba, which is beautiful. So, we've gone into Liverpool. This is happening in Fairfield. And again, it's trying to reconnect with where the community's moved to. I'd like to add one if I can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to mention it, but I'm going to mention it anyway. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be travelling over to Lebanon, the Feed the World Board, to officially open our first office in Lebanon. So it'll be fully owned by the Feed the World. So we're cutting out all the third parties. This will be an office in Tripoli, in the heart of Tripoli, and it'll be a warehouse and office. So the idea will be that when we need to buy shortages for anywhere within the Middle East, we'll store it and then we'll deliver it. And when I say we, it's directly through Feed the World. So that you won't be paying admin fees for other assistance. You're doing it directly. So we're opening that office on the 19th of October, having an official launch. So if you're in Lebanon, 19th of October, be in Tripoli. It's an official launch. We'll be having the politicians, as they love to be, and photo sessions. But it's an important initiative because, again, given Gaza, this gives us a platform now to be able to get stuff quickly into Gaza when our cousins eventually decide they want to open those gates. Until then, we've got the facilities there. And the idea is to have satellite offices. So inshallah, we want to be able to provide resources to Lebanon immediately. So we're going to have offices in all the north and even in the south, which is not traditionally a Sunni area, but it doesn't matter. We'll have satellite offices in most areas of Lebanon, inshallah.
Yeah. I mean, that deserves its own in-depth media release, inshallah.
Yep.
We need the information.
We'll send photos.
That,
we'll send you photos.
Inshallah, you have a safe trip. So we probably won't be seeing you. One more time,
unless you can get me some microphones into Tripoli somehow.
We might cross live to Lebanon.
I can see Bilal putting his hand up saying he volunteered to go over to do
That'll be interesting. No, I don't want to go with Bilal. Bilal likes his Portos too much.
Hajj. I think we've covered all the main points. Alhamdulillah. And it is getting late. Brother John Mahoney, Jazakallah khair for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure. We want to see you a lot more, in front of the camera.
Inshallah.
We see you writing behind the pen, but we want to see you in front of the camera, inshallah. And Hajj Jamal, thanks a lot again for joining us.
Thank you.
And to everyone, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.